Former President Trump throwing his weight behind Hungary's authoritarian leader Viktor Orban with a ringing endorsement. Yesterday, Trump made this statement, quote, "Viktor Orban of Hungary truly loves his country and wants safety for his people. He has done a powerful and wonderful job in protecting Hungary, stopping illegal immigration, creating jobs, trade, and should be allowed to continue to do so in the upcoming election. He is a strong leader and respected by all. He has my complete support and endorsement for re-election as prime minister." Now, Orban is a right-wing strongman who has shifted Hungary away from democracy and toward autocracy in the past decade. He has weakened judicial independence, attacked the rights of journalists, and doubled down on the government's control of media. And for all of those anti-American moves, he has been rewarded with quite the following in pro-Trump circles.
Here's Viktor Orban. His accent's pretty thick, but his English is precise. He's worth hearing.
But Orban is not special. He is just the latest strongman flavor of the week receiving Trump's affections, as Trump has made clear that he himself would prefer to be a strongman rather than a democratically elected president at the helm of a co-equal branch of government that is the foundation of the American experiment. If this were a rose ceremony on The Bachelor, Orban would be just a face in the crowd, in competition with a litany of other despots, like Vladimir Putin, with whom Trump has been particularly smitten.
Putin's a killer. A lot of killers. We got a lot of killers. Why, you think our country's so innocent? You think our country's so innocent?
I don't know of any government leaders that are killers in America.
Well, take a look at what we've done too. We've made a lot of mistakes. I've been against the war in Iraq from the beginning.
Being a killer normally disqualifying for a love match, but not for Trump when it comes to Putin or the leader of China.
You know, I had a great relationship with President Xi. I really believe he liked me and I liked him. I had a great relationship.
He's a killer.
He is a killer, but I had a great relationship with him.
To quote the Princess Bride, marriage, that blessed arrangement, that dweam within a dweam. Because a marriage, or a marriage, between Russia or China and the U.S. should be as destined to succeed as one between Prince Humperdinck and Princess Buttercup. President Xi Jinping of China, after all, has consolidated power. He has detained hundreds without due process and has one of the worst records on human rights in the world. But Trump is certainly not one to let that get in the way of a relationship, certainly not with Turkey's strongman.
I had a very good conversation with President Erdogan. I respect him. We have a very good relationship. Yes, I agree, he's a tough guy, but we have a very good relationship. I seem to do better with tough people.
Trump also enjoys the company of a guy who overthrew his nation's first democratically elected government, the president of Egypt.
I will tell you, President El-Sisi has been somebody that's been very close to me from the first time I met him. I met during the campaign, and at that point there were two of us, and we both met, and hopefully you liked me a lot more. But it was a very long, it was supposed to be just a quick, brief meeting, and we were with each other for a long period of time. We agree on so many things. I just want to let everybody know, in case there was any doubt, that we are very much behind President El-Sisi. He's done a fantastic job.
In cold-blooded murder, Trump is not one to let that interrupt affairs of the heart.
A friend of mine, a man who has really done things in the last 5 years in terms of opening up Saudi Arabia. And I want to just thank you on behalf of a lot of people, and I want to congratulate you. You've done really a spectacular job.
Very early on in his presidency, Trump congratulated his counterpart in the Philippines, despite Rodrigo Duterte greenlighting extrajudicial killings in the name of fighting drugs, resulting in thousands of deaths. Trump also bestowed a rose on the Trump of Brazil.
Today, I'm very thrilled to welcome President Bolsonaro of Brazil for his first visit to the White House. President Bolsonaro, I want to congratulate you again on your tremendous election victory. Last October, it was an incredible feat and really a truly incredible challenge, and the end result was
something the whole world was talking about. I also know that we're going to have a fantastic working relationship. We have many views that are similar.
Similar, kindred even. Bolsonaro makes offensive and sexist remarks and has taken extreme views. He's also downplayed the pandemic, unnecessarily costing the lives of his countrymen. And yet he's still not the one. No, that would be North Korea's dictator. As Sinead O'Connor might say, nothing compares to you.
He wrote me beautiful letters, and they're great letters. We fell in love. Hey, he's the head of a country, and I mean he is the strong head. Don't let anyone think anything different. Right. He speaks and his people sit up at attention. I want my people to do the same.
Well, yeah, they sit up at attention because they might be killed if they don't. But Trump isn't one to let that get in the way of WUV. True WUV.